Hello. Today we're interviewing the famed artist, Michelangelo.
This is his house.
This is his house, yes. Hello, Mr. Angelo.
Why, hello. Welcome to my house. Come on in.
All right.
Come on in, guys. Right this way. Go ahead. Let's get this interview started.
Awesome.
Woo!
Nice place down here.
Oh, yeah, it is. You know, when you paint the Sistine Chapel, you tend to make a lot of money, so...
Very nice.
Come on, boys.
This is a nice place you got here, Michelangelo.
Yeah, it took a while to build. I painted most of it myself.
Very nice.
Yeah. I created all the sculptures in here by myself also.
Well, I can't believe I'm over here interviewing the respected Michelangelo.
Well, it's nice to meet both of you gentlemen this evening, but my real name is actually...
Michelangelo di Lodovico e Buonarrota Simone.
And I was born on March 6th, 1475 in Florence.
Wow. So, Mr. Angelo, tell me about your parents.
Well, when I was a young boy growing up in Florence, right about the time I was a toddler mutant ninja turtle, my parents were bankers.
Didn't something tragic happen to your mother?
Yeah, she tragically died when I was 6, and she left my father stranded with me and my 4 other brothers.
So, Michelangelo, as you grew older, what made you want to go into the the fields of painting?
Well, as the Renaissance began, I knew I wanted to be a part of the movement, so I began to try my hand at the arts. I started sculpting, I started painting, I did a little bit of poetry and some architecture, but mainly as my skills grew, I just focused on sculpting and painting. And I'll show you guys some examples from around my house of some work that I've done in the past a little bit later.
Okay. Michelangelo.
Yeah,
Many people recognize symbolism inside of your artwork.
right.
Would you mind explaining that to us a little bit?
Well, I think art needs to stand for something.
Okay.
And that's where the symbolism really comes from.
Okay.
So in my most famous works is where it's most evident, like in Pieta,
Okay.
or in David, all over the Sistine Chapel, creation of Adam,
Okay.
and the Last Judgment. It's mostly, my symbolism represents like human nature, the Christian faith, and how wonderful the human body is.
Okay.
Well, that's very interesting, Mr. Michelangelo. I appreciate you telling us this.
Well, I'm glad you guys are having a good time so far. So would you guys care to see some of my previous artwork?
Sure.
Yes, sure.
I need a hand getting up. So if you'll follow me this way, James, I'll show you to my first exhibit here. This is the Sistine Chapel. Now, I painted this one impressively before I was 30 years old. I did this in the years of 1508 to 1512, so it took me 4 whole years to complete. And I actually had to convince Pope Julius to let me do this entire thing freehand.
Wow.
That was not an easy task. So I painted that whole Sistine Chapel on my back, way up high on some scaffolding. But my next work of art is Pieta. Now this is made out of marble. It's a sculpture depicting the Virgin Mary holding the dead body of her son Jesus.
After the crucifixion.
Correct, right. This took a year to complete, and it's located in the Vatican City. The last painting I'm going to show you guys this evening is called Creation of Adam. It depicts God breathing life into the first man on earth, Adam, which is shown in the book of Genesis inside the Bible. Now, this was painted from the years of 1511 to 1512. So it was one of the last things that I painted inside the Sistine Chapel. This piece of art is one of my favorites. This is David. This is my most famous statue, located in Florence. It took from 1501 to 1504 to complete, so 3 whole years.
Okay.
Made of pure marble.
Wow.
And David was one of the most popular subjects during the Renaissance period because of his biblical ties.
Okay.
Okay, so now that you have seen some examples of my artwork, I'd like to know what you guys think and have your opinions of them, and which ones are your favorites, and explain to me why and what they mean to you.
Well, I like going over here to the Pieta. which I think you sculpted beautifully. First, I want to point out that I think you depicted the classical beauty and naturalism very well in this picture. I feel that the way you expressed it, Mary can accept a sorrow, which was her son on the crucifixion. I think that she believes in the afterlife, so she's not really mourning. I think she's just in an acceptance stage of her life.
Right.
And I also feel it conveys peace and tranquility throughout her lifestyle and whatever she continues with her life.
Right. Okay, so now that James has explained to me his favorite piece of the Pieta and what it means to him, what's your favorite piece, and what does it mean to you in terms of symbolism and just an overall sense of what you think of it?
Well, my favorite piece has to be David over here. I think he expresses the sense of life during the time of the Renaissance. How the people tried to experiment with new types of art, with being an independent thinker, thinking in new ways, and it's just kind of a very interesting way to depict art. And I also like to see how it kind of shows a sense of a prideful, heroic man, which I feel like kind of symbolizes the sense of the time. He was very prideful, in a sense heroic, because it was a new way of expressing yourself mentally. And yeah, that's what I get out of David.
Right, I also want to add that it's a depiction of how amazing the human body can really be. And during a time of such great discovery with science and anatomy, I feel like this sculpture, which is my favorite, is just a prime example.
Of course, yes.
Thank you, Michelangelo. I appreciate you showing me around your place. I appreciate you talking with us. I still notice you don't live a very luxurious life. Is there a reason?
Well, I don't like to brag about my wealth, so I often sleep in my clothes and in my boots, and I only eat because I have to eat to survive. I don't like to eat big fancy meals, and when there's people out there that are starving.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, and
Yes.
as my life progressed on, I started to write more and more poems, and I don't know, my life experiences just kind of went into the poetry.
Do you tend to feel very, isolated when you're around others besides, your loved ones?
I used to feel very shy, but obviously not now when I'm with you guys. I used to feel like I didn't want to be around anyone, and I think that's where a lot of my art came from, just being by myself. I'd like to thank you both for coming this evening. It was a pleasure meeting you. James, take care, be safe. Be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo.